Well, good day. It is the 24th of May, 2021, and one of the most common questions I have or comments that are sent to me via email. People are looking. I say I want to apply for numerous federal agencies, and they'll give me, essentially an alphabet soup of different agencies that they're interested in. And I think it's important and instructive to point out that not all of these are the same. That a person might do very well in one agency and be bored out of their mind. A different person might be bored out of their mind in the same agency. So personality type is very important to what agency you will do best in. They're not all the same, basically. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about my former agency, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and point out what I think attributes make for the most successful DEA agent. And essentially, not everybody is cut out to be a DEA agent. Not every police officer is cut out to be a DEA agent. So hopefully this will give you some insight into whether this is a job that is for you. And I'm going to look at other agencies, but I can't do it all in one video because it would last forever. We don't want to do that. So let's look at what would make for a good DEA agent. And I think the first place to begin is obviously, again, to review what the agency does. What is it that the Drug Enforcement Administration does? And unlike any other federal law enforcement agency, we work organized crime exclusively. Drug trafficking, large-scale drug trafficking, it's all organized crime. Okay, there is no national security work, there is no protective work, there is no courtroom duties or anything like that. Everything involves the penetration, investigation, bringing to justice people in organized crime, drug trafficking organizations. Now, what is characteristic of these organizations that doesn't exist anywhere else? Number one, they don't want to be caught, and it's essentially a victimless crime. Now, what do I mean by victimless crime? Whether it's an organized crime, La Cosa Nostra, or a drug trafficking organization, a street gang, whoever it is, the Mexican drug cartels, they're bringing their drugs across into the United States. They're selling them. The money's going back. And if there's a problem, they take care of it. But there is no one really to call the police and complain. Well, that's very different from, a bank robbery, let's say. Someone's ox has been gored. They're upset. Or a family member's been kidnapped, okay? They're upset. They call law enforcement. They want law enforcement to work the case. A homicide case, that you have to investigate it back to find out who did it. The difference between those type of cases and drug law enforcement is nobody really calls the police, okay? You have to figure out a way to break into those organizations. And that is what the DEA does. Okay? So what is the most important attribute, of a person going into drug law enforcement? Let's take a look at that right now. And when you look at the duties of how do you go about doing this, what are the tools that they teach you about in the academy? The primary tool is the recruitment of confidential sources, also known as informants, also known as stool pigeons, men and women involved who can either be threatened or bought to assist. And usually it's the former. They're threatened. Okay, how many DEA agents make cases? About 25 to 30% consistently make cases. The vast majority of DEA agents do not make cases. They assist in other cases. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. Doesn't mean that they're not going to get promoted. They're just not successful at making cases. You can either make cases or you don't. It's more of a personality trait that I found in all my years as an agent and my 11 years as a group supervisor, supervising agents. Some of them they're not good at doing this. Why is this? Again, not all have a good work ethic. Not all have the same traits and abilities. Okay, very simple. And what are the most successful traits to a DEA agent? The first one is initiative. If I could choose one personality trait for an agent applicant, It would be to choose self-starters with initiative. And what do I mean by initiative? It's somebody that is going to go out and find work. Okay? Nobody is going to give you work on a platter. Nobody's going to assign you what to do on a specific day unless it's to help other agents. But in order to be productive, in order to have your own cases, you have to have initiative. Some people have it, some people don't. The second thing that I would say, and I would refer to this as compassionate ruthlessness. And this is not a good word, but it's a true word. You have to be able to manipulate your informants, confidential sources, so that they produce. And again, it's against their nature as criminals to snitch. But it's your job to get them to do that, to get them to turn in their friends, to get them to provide information, to get them to do what you want them to do. And this is done through a combination of praise, cajoling, and threatening, okay? And you're either good at it or you're not. It's an interpersonal skill. Okay, you have to be able to control the informant. Because if you don't control the informant will control you. This is the third one, deviousness. And again, case agents, DEA agents, not only have to think about the legalities and safety considerations, but you also have to anticipate how drug traffickers will react. And this ability to think in two brains is particularly important in undercover, but it's important in developing any case. Because you have to think one step ahead. You have to think what they're thinking at the same time that you're doing the investigation. And then, of course, knowledge of the law and operational safety. Getting back to my experience, just to start off, imagine you're dropped into a city where you don't know anybody. You've got your government car, your badge, your creds, buy money, everything you need, the training, the authority. But, what do? Well, either you know what to do or you don't know what to do. But if you're kind of waiting for someone to come in and give you something to do, you're at a disadvantage, okay, in DEA. And again, the way it worked for me, and it worked for me very well. In Miami, a friend of mine who had a couple years more on the job than I did, had an informant, a confidential source, and we worked at source, and then we flipped the guy we arrested, and he did a number of cases, and then we had more CSs, more informants, and we did more cases as a result of that. And then he got transferred, and I just, kept working cases. And before long, you have like 30, 40, 50 cases. You have a lot of informants, a stable of informants who are calling you all the time. You work with the United States attorneys. You're always busy. And that's good. And you're traveling a lot. Now, what does this do to your family? It's not easy. It's not easy. A lot of these guys, a lot of agents get divorced. A lot of them have family problems because you're never home. You're always working, even though you're not traveling, I'm saying necessarily, but you're still always, day and night, you've got something going, or someone else in the group has something going. Now, what about the other agents who just, and it's not a slur against them, okay? I had a guy that I supervised, and again, I spent a lot more time as a supervisor than I did as a street agent. And some of the agents, they were great at making cases. Some of the task force officers were great at making cases. And some of them couldn't find water if they fell out of a boat. If you can't make a drug case in Washington, D.C., I don't know, Or if you can't make a drug case in El Paso or Miami, I don't know what to tell you. But, a lot of them could not. Now, some of them were eminently qualified for law enforcement. Some of them had military commissions. One was a Green Beret, and he was a great guy. He's a wonderful guy. But insofar as signing up informants and working informants, that wasn't his forte. Now, he went to the FAST team and did that, and then he resigned, formed his own company. It went okay for him, and he's a good guy. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying he's a bad person. He just didn't have the personality to be a successful DEA agent. Unfortunately, the job, primarily as it exists, is to generate cases, to break into these drug trafficking organizations, and you do that by generating cases. People aren't going to give you the cases from the top down. So again, the most important trait to be a successful DEA agent, initiative. Number 2, the ability to recruit, retain, and control informants. Number three, the ability to document what you're doing and to work well with the United States attorneys. And some people are able to do that, some people aren't. So my next video is going to be on the marshals, which is not anywhere near as complicated a job description as DEA, because again, you're not working trying to break into organized crime groups. Hopefully it's been enlightening to some extent as to whether or not you want to be a DEA agent. Again, there's other federal jobs that you might be perfect for. But tomorrow I'll do one on the United States Marshals. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the kind comments. Hopefully it's been useful. If you like it, subscribe. If you think what I'm saying is, I'm full of crap, go ahead and put that in the comments too, and I will respond kindly. Thank you.